All right, let's dive right into this. Today, we're looking at something we touch every single day, but honestly, rarely truly see: money. But we're not talking about just any currency here. We're tracing the lineage of the Polish Zloty. And I don't want you to just think of the Zloty as, a simple medium of exchange. I want you to look at it as an ultimate survivor. Through partitions, world wars, economic sabotage, and honestly staggering hyperinflation, the Polish currency has died and been reborn so many times that its history reads more like an epic thriller.
So think about this for a second. What can a literal pocket full of change tell us about centuries of war, sabotage, and survival? Well, as you'll see, it's this incredibly dramatic chronological phoenix narrative. It's a currency that gets completely erased, manipulated, and devalued, only to somehow rise from the ashes again and again.
Section 1. The birth of the Zloty. Okay, so the deep historical roots of the Zloty start way back in the 14th century. That's when King Casimir III the Great first started minting the silver crack of gross. But the actual word zloty, which literally translates to golden, that didn't even pop up until the 15th century. And get this, it wasn't even a physical coin at first. It was just a unit of account, basically a handy way of tallying up 30 of those silver groszy. It really wasn't until 1528 that the first physical czerwone zloty, or red zloty coins, were finally minted. And here's a brilliant little historical fact for you from our sources. The famous astronomer Nicolaus Copernicus, he actually co-authored the massive 1526 monetary reform that set the stage for all of this.
But even in its really early days, the zloty just couldn't escape economic turbulence. Back in the 16th century, that golden red zloty was worth exactly 30 silver groszy. But fast forward to the 18th century, the value of that single golden coin had absolutely skyrocketed to 540 silver groszy. The silver coins were losing their value so rapidly, which was kind of this early harbinger of the real chaos that was heading their way.
Section 2. Reforms of King Poniatowski.
Now, during the 7 Years' War, Poland faced this utterly fascinating act of economic espionage. It involved these things called Ephraimites. What happened was, the Prussian king, Frederick II, managed to get his hands on captured Saxon minting dies, and he used them to deliberately flood the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth with these fake coins. And I mean catastrophically low silver content. It was an intentional act of literal economic sabotage. And it worked. It caused massive hyperinflation, completely devastating the wealth of the Polish nobility and townsfolk, and just destroyed their trust in money entirely.
Enter the last king of Poland, Stanislaw August Poniatowski. He realized right away that fixing the money wasn't just some boring financial issue. It was absolutely crucial for reclaiming Poland's political independence. So, what did he do to fight back? First off, he reclaimed the state monopoly on minting coins in 1765. Then, he established a high-level mint commission led by top state officials. And most importantly, he issued a brand-new copper grosz that was firmly, solidly tied to a standardized weight, the Cologne pound. It was this really desperate, Enlightenment-inspired attempt to save the entire economy.
And he took quality control incredibly seriously. If you actually look at coins from this era, you'll see these little letters stamped right onto them: VG, FS, EB. Now, those aren't just random serial codes or anything. They're the actual initials of the mint masters, guys like Piotr Mikołaj von Gartenberg or Ephraim Bren. By stamping their own initials on there, these guys were taking direct, personal, financial responsibility for the weight and purity of the metal. Basically, if the coin was debased, everyone knew exactly whose door to go knocking on.
Section 3. World War II Occupation. So when Nazi Germany occupied Poland, the country was essentially erased from the map entirely, replaced by the general government. But, people still need to buy food, the economy still had to function somehow, so the occupation forces established a new bank and completely repurposed the zloty. The locals colloquially called these new occupation banknotes Mulinarki, named after the bank president Felix Mulinarki. The occupiers aggressively set the exchange rate at 1 Reichsmark to 2 zlotys. This was totally designed to heavily disadvantage the local population and just ruthlessly drain the region's resources.
And looking at the physical reality of these coins is just staggering. Before the war, coins were made of brass, bronze, silver. But during the occupation, the Warsaw Mint was forced to use the absolute cheapest, most readily available materials they could find, mostly zinc and iron. And it gets even more bizarre, because they actually used recycled pre-war dies to press them. So you had these incredibly cheap zinc coins being made, but they had the year 1923 or 1939 stamped on them, right in the middle of the 1940s. It's just a striking physical anchor. It shows the very real material reality of a war-torn economy literally making do with scrap.
Section 4. Coins of Communist Poland. And this, right here, brilliantly illustrates how politics literally, physically redesigns our money. So the traditional symbol of Poland, the white eagle, underwent a total socialist makeover. If you look at the pre-war eagle, it proudly wore a crown. But the communist-era eagle, the crown is completely stripped away. Stars were added to its wings, and the inscription officially changed to Polska Rzeczpospolita Ludowa, the Polish People's Republic. The state's brand new ideology was quite literally stamped right into the pockets of every single citizen.
Now, the post-war economy was just in utter ruins. In 1950, there's this brutal currency reform that forced citizens to exchange their old money at a punishing 100-to-1 ratio. Boom, savings wiped out overnight. Plus, the country simply could not afford precious or even standard metals for their everyday coins anymore, so production shifted almost entirely to cheap, incredibly lightweight aluminum. And the designs? They totally abandoned the kings of old. Instead, they went with socialist ideals. You'd see imagery like a fisherman pulling a heavy net or bundles of wheat, heavily glorifying the common worker.
Section 5. Hyperinflation and the Modern Era.
2 million. Just let that number sink in. In the late 80s and early 90s, as the communist system was collapsing and the country transitioned to a market economy, Poland got hit with absolutely massive hyperinflation. The value of the currency was plummeting so fast that the national bank had no choice but to just keep printing larger and larger bills. Just imagine walking down to the local store to buy basic groceries and you have to hand the cashier a massive 2 million zloty paper note. The sheer scale of those zeros really tells you everything you need to know about the intense economic anxiety of that specific era.
So you might be wondering, how did they finally fix a mess like that? Well, in 1995, Poland executed a massive denomination. They basically effectively chopped 4 zeros straight off the currency. 10,000 old zlotys became exactly one new Polish zloty, or PLN as we know it today. This was a super bold move, but combined with broader economic reforms, it actually successfully tamed that wild hyperinflation and brought some much-needed stability back to the nation's wallets.
Which leads us directly to the money people use in Poland today. And what's really beautiful about these modern banknotes is how they actively celebrate Poland's enduring history. Instead of anonymous workers or foreign occupiers, the notes feature the great kings who actually shaped the nation. You've got Mieszko I on the 10, Kazimierz the Great on the 50, going all the way up to Jan III Sobieski on the 500. It's like after centuries of having their identities suppressed, the currency proudly reclaims its royal heritage for all to see.
We've seen the zloty survive the Ephraimites' sabotage, the World War II occupation, communist restructuring, and crazy modern hyperinflation. It is undeniably a currency that has bled and fought to survive right alongside its people. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. After centuries of fighting, sabotage, and hyperinflation to keep the zloty alive, will Poland ever surrender it for the euro? As a member of the EU, Poland is technically committed to adopting the euro eventually. But the debate remains fiercely divided today between full economic integration and holding on to this incredibly hard-won symbol of national sovereignty. It's definitely something to think about the next time you hold a simple coin in your hand. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning what you see every day.